I don't know about you, but one of the things that I hear the most when I talk to people about therapy is about how expensive it is. Hey, my name is Graham McBride, and I am a licensed professional counselor, and I get it. Therapy is unfortunately too expensive for far too many people. But fortunately, there are lots of things that we can do for free that support our mental and emotional health. Things that I do as a therapist and things that I encourage my clients to do as well. The first one is journaling. I've been a journaler since middle school, and it was not until very recently that I realized how helpful it was for mental and emotional health. The research says that journaling significantly lowers symptoms of anxiety, depression, and stress. It also improves immune function, lowers blood pressure, and leads to fewer doctor visits. And it enhances life satisfaction and optimism, reducing negativity overall. I typically journal once a day in the morning with my morning coffee, and then every week I make a list of just a day-by-day recap of the last week and a lesson that I learned, as well as the major events in the upcoming week. So if you're interested in getting started in this, you could keep a gratitude journal. It has been shown that even doing it once a week, listing a few things you're grateful for, can have significant impacts. And you could also try expressive writing, which involves describing your thoughts and your feelings connected to something going on in your life. Even just 10 to 20 minutes of that 3 to 4 days a week would be really helpful. The second thing that we can all do that is free, that is really supportive of our mental and emotional health, is movement. Research on movement has found that it improves mood and energy and cognitive functions like memory and processing speed. It also reduces anxiety, anger, confusion, depression, and tension. And it can be as effective as therapy and/or medication. For me, I will say that I see exercise as my biggest hobby. And so what I do is a little bit more than what is needed for everybody else, probably. I just really like to exercise. So I shoot for 7 to 10,000 steps a day. I have a walking pad here in my office. I also weightlift about 3 to 5 times a week for about 30 to 40 minutes. And then I run 3 times a week. I do twice a week for 30 minutes, and then a really long run between 60 minutes to 120 minutes once a week. I also do yoga once a week just to add some mobility and make sure that my flexibility stays where it needs to be. If you're interested in working more movement into your life, a good goal would be to just start small, 15 to 45 minutes of any kind of movement 3 times a week. A good goal, maybe that would be more of a reach, would be 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week. That is what the CDC recommends for adults. And all movement counts. It's important to remember that it doesn't have to be exercise per se. You may just like to take a walk around your office, or to take a walk around your apartment complex when you get home from work. You also could take a dance class, or you could do any number of things as long as you're moving your body. Another thing that I have found that makes moving easier is to move with others. So going on a walk with a friend, doing a YouTube yoga dance class with your friend all together. All of these things make it a lot easier to get moving. The third thing that is free, that is super helpful for mental and emotional health, is silence. Research on silence and sitting in silence shows that it reduces blood pressure and our cortisol, or our stress hormone levels. It does this more so than listening to relaxing music, which is actually surprising to me because I really love music. It also activates what's called the brain's default mode network, which facilitates introspection and learning consolidation, both of which are really important for us, especially those of us who work in very mentally draining jobs. It also just overall helps the brain relax after overstimulation. For me, I sit in silence every morning with my coffee and my journal. And I also try to spend the first few moments of my car rides in silence as necessary. There are some days that I listen to nothing every time I'm in the car or on my scooter. And then there's some times where I don't need it as much. If I feel overstimulated or have a lot on my mind, I've just learned to allow silence to help my system settle. And it takes some time. If you're interested in trying this, a good place to start would be to aim for about 5 to 20 minutes a day total. It doesn't have to be simultaneous. It can be separated out over time. It also might be more helpful to you to start with moving silence. So going on a walk without headphones or riding in the car without music. Another way to make silence more approachable might be to connect it with a sensory experience or with your breath. Whether that's sitting still in silence and noticing your surroundings through your senses, your sights and your smells and your touch and your taste, etc. And it also might be helpful to focus on your breath, taking slow breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Another thing that we can all do for free that is really helpful for mental and emotional health is social connection. Research has found that social connection buffers the impact of stress on our moods and it reduces our stress reactivity. Social connection is also associated with lower odds of suicidal ideation, plans, attempts, and death as well. It also increases the likelihood that one will engage in regular physical activity, maintain a balanced diet, and adhere to medical treatment plans. For me, I have a general rule that I text, call, or voice memo people whenever I think about them. Even just a simple thinking about you keeps those connections alive most of the time. I also try to schedule time with close friends once a week or once every 2 weeks, just to make sure that I'm not losing touch. I also try to host a wider friend group to my house or out somewhere in my town about 2 times a month, and I invite a ton of people, and whoever shows up, shows up. And it's a great opportunity for me to keep those connections intact, but also to foster new connections between others. I also try to visit my family. They live out of town for me once a month, and I try to visit out of town friends once a quarter. For you, if you're looking to bolster your social connections a bit, you might also try to schedule consistent time with closest friends as often as possible. Try to treat it like it's a doctor's appointment, but socially, because it is. Find a monthly way to connect with new people, whether that's inviting people to the park or an event or the movies, and tell them to invite anyone so that you can make more connections with newer people. And then you might consider adopting my text, call, voice memo people whenever you think about them. You'd be surprised how many times you do that and it ends up being at just the right time for someone. Another really simple thing that we don't even think about affecting our mental and emotional health is just staying hydrated. Research has found that it positively influences attention, working memory, and mood states. It's also closely correlated with quality sleep. For me, I shoot for 6 bottles of water per day, and I try to drink a whole bottle of water before my morning coffee just to start the day off right. I carry my water bottle with me at all times, and I have alarms set on my phone every 2 hours just to remind me to drink water. When I learned all of this research a couple years ago, I realized that I was drinking like maybe 1 or 2 water bottles a day, and I was severely dehydrated, which is why I made big changes for myself here. If you're ready to shoot for this area, it might look like meeting the IOM recommendations for adults, which are 120 ounces a day for men and 96 ounces a day for women. That's about 6 water bottles for men, around 5 for women. The recommended intake does not take into account activity level or other factors, so it's helpful to monitor your individual needs based on urine color. It should be clear, and thirst cues as well. And then simply carry your water bottle with you. If you have it with you, it's a lot easier to remember to take a quick sip. And finally, this is one of my favorite things to talk about, but screen time. Research has shown that limiting screen time finds that it decreases the risk of depression, it improves stress levels, well-being, and sleep quality. Limiting the effects of devices also limits the effects that they have on social interactions, and it also makes one less likely to be sedentary, which is to mean just sitting around. I turn all my notifications off for social media, for emails, and for news apps. I use an app called ScreenZen to block social media from 8 p.m. until 12 p.m. and interrupt social media time every 3 minutes so that I don't get into a habit of doom scrolling. I also use focus settings. For example, do not disturb, and it automatically turns on every night at 8 p.m. for me, and automatically turns on at 6 p.m. on Saturday, and then stays on all day Sunday, and I try to really spend as much time away from my device as possible. Another thing that I do with my device is that I charge it outside of my room so that it does not disrupt my sleep. If you are ready to up your game when it comes to device use and screen time management, you might consider also charging your phone outside of your bedroom to shoot for less than 2 hours per day. And I would highly recommend ScreenZen or a similar app and set the limits to meet your goals for yourself. Again, focus settings are amazing on iPhone. They allow you to automatically turn on at certain times, like I mentioned earlier, or you can set them to turn on based on your GPS. So maybe you want to have certain focus settings when you get home or when you get to work. All in all, these are some super simple things that we can all do that are really supportive to our mental and emotional health. That is screen time, staying hydrated, social connection, silence, movement, and journaling. Let me know which one of these has been the most helpful to you and which one you think you might like to try for yourself. Thank you so much for watching this video today. If you found this to be interesting or helpful, I would love it if you would subscribe to this video so you don't miss future ones, and also share it with somebody who you think might benefit. As always, I hope you have an amazing day.